The dancing plague of 1518, when a town danced to death. Ever heard of a town dancing itself to death? In 1518, Strasbourg witnessed a bizarre epidemic, a dancing plague, that continues to baffle historians. Prepare to delve into a historical enigma that blends faith, fear, and the fragility of the human mind. Step back in time to 16th century Strasbourg, a city teetering on the edge of despair. The Holy Roman Empire held sway, and life was a relentless struggle. Famine stalked the land, disease was rampant, and the ever-present threat of death cast a long shadow over the populace. Imagine the weight of such anxieties bearing down on an entire community. The people of Strasbourg lived in constant fear, not just of earthly hardships, but also of divine retribution. This deep-seated fear created a fertile ground for the extraordinary events that were about to unfold. It was in this atmosphere of dread that the dancing plague began. The catalyst for this strange epidemic was a woman named Frau Troffea. On July 14, 1518, she stepped into the street and began to dance. Not a joyful dance, but a wild, uncontrolled frenzy. Her movements were erratic, her body contorted, and her face devoid of expression. Neighbors watched in disbelief as Frau Troffea continued her macabre performance for hours. Her husband pleaded with her to stop, but she seemed oblivious to his pleas. She danced through the day and into the night, until she finally collapsed from exhaustion. But this was only the beginning. The next morning, Frau Troffea resumed her dance, and then something even more disturbing happened. Others began to join her. Soon, dozens of people were dancing alongside her, their bodies moving in the same frenzied manner. The dancing plague had begun its relentless spread. As the number of dancers swelled, the authorities in Strasbourg were thrown into a state of panic. They convened emergency meetings, desperately seeking an explanation and a solution. The city's physicians offered a diagnosis based on the prevailing medical theories of the time: hot blood. According to this theory, the dancers were suffering from an excess of inflamed blood, which was causing their uncontrollable movements. The prescribed treatment was to allow the dancers to continue dancing until the fever subsided. This disastrous advice led the city council to encourage the dancing, turning guild halls into dance floors and hiring musicians to provide accompaniment. This decision proved to be a catastrophic miscalculation. Instead of curing the dancers, the music and the encouragement only intensified their frenzy and attracted more participants. The epidemic spread like wildfire, consuming the city in a wave of uncontrollable movement. As the situation spiraled out of control, the religious authorities offered their own interpretation. The dancing plague was the work of Saint Vitus, a Christian martyr believed to have the power to curse people with a dancing mania. The afflicted were taken to a shrine dedicated to Saint Vitus in Saverne, where priests performed rituals in an attempt to lift the curse. Whether through divine intervention or the natural course of the epidemic, the dancing plague began to subside in September. The streets of Strasbourg gradually returned to normal, but the memory of that summer of madness would forever haunt the city. The dancing plague had left an indelible mark on the collective psyche of Strasbourg. Behind the spectacle of hundreds of people dancing in the streets lay a profound human tragedy. The physical toll on the dancers was immense. They danced until their feet bled, their bodies dehydrated, and their minds exhausted. Some collapsed from heart attacks or strokes, their bodies carried away as others continued to dance around them. The psychological impact was equally devastating. Imagine watching your loved ones dance themselves to death, powerless to stop them. Imagine the terror of feeling the first involuntary twitches in your own limbs, knowing what was to come. The dancing plague was a collective trauma that would haunt the region for generations. The physician Paracelsus, who visited Strasbourg 8 years after the plague, described the dancers' expressions as a mixture of terror and ecstasy, as if they were simultaneously experiencing heaven and hell. This haunting image captures the complex and contradictory nature of the dancing plague. 5 centuries later, the dancing plague of 1518 remains a puzzle. Scientists, historians, and medical researchers have proposed various theories to explain this extraordinary outbreak. One early explanation focused on ergot poisoning, a fungus that grows on rye and other grains. Ergot contains psychoactive compounds that can cause hallucinations, spasms, and convulsions. However, this theory has been largely discredited, as it cannot account for the physical stamina of the dancers or the uniformity of their symptoms. A more compelling explanation comes from the field of psychology: mass psychogenic illness, also known as mass hysteria. Mass psychogenic illness occurs when psychological distress manifests as physical symptoms that spread rapidly through a community. The people of Strasbourg in 1518 were living under conditions of extreme stress, making them particularly vulnerable to this phenomenon. The intense religious atmosphere of the time, with its belief in saints and demons, further amplified the psychological pressure. The dancing plague of 1518 serves as a stark reminder of the complex interplay between mind and body, between individual psychology and collective behavior. It demonstrates how cultural beliefs can shape not just how we interpret illness, but how illness itself manifests. It reveals the fragility of the human mind and its capacity for extraordinary and sometimes frightening things. Even today, with all our scientific advancements, we are not immune to similar phenomena. The dancing plague reminds us that the line between order and chaos, between reason and madness, can be surprisingly thin. It teaches us that the most terrifying contagions may not be those that attack our bodies, but those that capture our minds. In the quiet streets of Strasbourg today, there are no visible reminders of that frenzied summer 5 centuries ago. But in our collective memory, the dancers move still, a haunting testament to the mysteries of the human condition that even now we struggle to fully understand. The dancing plague of 1518 continues to fascinate and disturb us, offering a glimpse into the darker corners of human history. This has been The Dancing Plague of 1518, a medieval mystery unveiled. Did you find this historical exploration captivating? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. And if you're eager to uncover more historical enigmas, subscribe to our channel for a journey through the annals of time.